Yo, what's outside is within. The mind regulates the hand that masters the pen. The pen is mightier than the sword, but the tongue is mightier still. The stargate to the mind's revealed. The vortex.
Peace and love, family. Cyclonious, your host. We have a special guest with us today. Would you mind saying who you are to the people watching?
Yeah, everyone, bless up. I'm Kool the Emcee, original jungle MC.
Trust me. And again, bro, you know, for me, it's a pleasure to have you on here, so people can just get to know who you are if they don't know who you are, and just get an insight into your mindset on music, the culture, and the way that you see things. You get me? All right, so I've got a first question here for you, family. What inspired you to get into the world of pirate radio and start your journey at Kool FM?
Good question. So that would be originally school. So when I was in school, at that time, everybody was listening to jungle, and even like my older brother, they were raving to it. So you know, it was a situation I'd hear them have little tapes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then I remember I had my own little radio cassette thing in my room, and I used to listen to it every weekend. You know, because them times the radio weren't really a week during the week thing. I don't think if people remember, radio never used to be on during the week.
They weren't popping like that.
They weren't popping like that. It was a weekend vibe. So weekend would come, and that's when you're listening to the radio. And I used to have my little TDKs, and I'd like record the radio. You know, those were the days of where you didn't even know what a tune was called. You used to have to come to school and you haven't heard that tune, you'd hum it or do the bass yourself or your mouth, you know, them way there. So it was that sort of thing. So yeah, that was the vibe I was getting. I just was really loving the music. And then obviously I'd hear the MCs, and I was more interested in the MCs than I was the DJs. I didn't care about the DJs,
right?
You know, but obviously the music was cold, but I didn't really care about the DJs behind it. It was me listening to the MCs with lyrics. And those days when I was first, it was really basic, but it was just hype, you know. And it was from then I was like, you know what, I want to try and do this.
Yeah.
So I'd listen to it, and I'd record the tapes. And then obviously I'd be just trying to write my little lyrics to it and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, that's how I got into the music, you know, because obviously at that time, you had bashment, original, you had hip hop. I loved those genres, of course I did. I mean, without them, there wouldn't be no jungle.
I get you.
Yeah, let's keep that 100. Yeah. But just in terms of it being fresh, it was something like I hadn't heard before.
That's right.
You know, so I was like, what's this?
Yeah.
Because obviously I went into the era with hardcore and all of that sort of stuff. So when I was listening to that, there was that element of this fast-paced music, but with that bashment hip-hoppy vibe, and I was like, yeah, this is me.
Yeah.
So that's how it all began.
Can you share a memorable experience from your time at Kool FM that shaped your career in the music industry?
Do you know what it is? I think I wouldn't say that it was a one-off scenario or one-off situation that did. Basically, for me, it was, you know, the culture. So I don't even know if you remember this. I remember we was in school at the time, and we went to a rave. I think it was Designer Label.
I remember the Designer Label.
Yeah, remember, because these times there, my brother's working as the doorman at the club, bouncer, whatever you want to call it. And we went from school, and we went there. And it was almost like, that was when I felt like, I'm here, you know, them way there, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that shaped me in the sense of, that's what made me fall in love with the rave scene. I remember there's a difference. You got to understand, MCing on radio and an MCing in a rave, there's a difference. And I don't think people as musicians and artists understand that. And the listeners sometimes get that, you know. So when I used to be on radio, it was more scientific. So it's more like homing in your skills,
right.
You know, and like listening to yourself, like thinking yourself, when I go, I want to hear this on a tape. But when you go into a rave, that's like there's people there, you know. So there's the atmosphere is different
interaction,
the energy, it's a different thing, you know. So that's what's mad, because I'll give you an example. So when I used to MC on radio, people are listening to you. They're listening to you. In a rave, it's just a hype thing. Like I could go into a rave and just go bad. And people go mad.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Where on radio, it's not really people want to hear what you've got to say. So the elements were different. So for me, it was a different structure, and it was different because it all depended on where I was how I got. And I think the rave scene probably was what solidified me around. Although Kool FM was massive for me because getting on there. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'll tell you some insight. Just before I got onto Kool FM, I basically quit because I was like, I felt at the time I was hot. I thought I was one of the best to do it. And I was I'm getting shown no love for this. So I'm like, this is dead. And then funny enough, I think it was, I don't want to say the day and make it sound dramatic, but like days after I was like, I can't be bothered with this no more. I got a phone call from one DJ and he was like, yo, I'm doing a, he did a set on Kool. Come up. I was like, what? You being serious? He's like, yeah, come up, man. I've spoken to them. Come up. And the rest was history, So from there, so I would do, started doing radios on a Friday, worked it up to a Saturday, and then obviously you start working with different people. And that was it. So for me, it was a difficult one because there's not one specific thing I could say to you that brought me in on it, that in that sense. Because just as much as I could say Kool FM was massive, bro, the rave scene, like going to the raves with certain MCs and DJs, that was a big part of it for me.
So with that element, was it loads of MCs and DJs from different radio stations? Like, tell me if I'm wrong. Like, I swear Rinse was doing their thing.
Rinse was big. Rinse was big.
So was it like a collaboration or a combination of many different jungle MCs and DJs?
No. So it was a weird one. It was all about depending on who I was moving with at the time.
Oh, okay.
So when I first got onto radio, I was like, 14 years old? I was 14 years old. I remember my brother, he drove me up to Essex to a radio station called Syndicate FM.
Right.
That was the first radio station I got on, and I used to do it I used to stay up there, like the weekends. That's how into it I was, And I was honing my skills on that station. And then, every week you're spitting. I'll make you laugh. One time when my brother was driving up to the radio station, and there's some youths that are driving up as well, and they're passing us kind of thing. And they're playing the music, the radio station, but they're playing a tape.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, and it's a tape of me.
Right.
So there's a tape of me spitting these times, and all that now. And I'm just sitting there thinking, like, looking at my brother. Let's say we're looking at each other now, but it's kind of laughing. And these men start screwing us now. And I'm just thinking, you donuts.
Yeah, you don't even know.
You know what I mean? You don't even realise the whole thing you're getting hype off of is in the. So it was mad.
Yeah, it was mad.
But it's like those kind of moments made me think, I could actually do this.
Yeah.
So that was the first radio station I was on, Syndicate, and that's when they used to do certain raves. Obviously, when I did my first rave, I must have got paid something like £50, £60 or something for my first rave, and I was like, I want to do this. Because when you're 14, 15, especially at that time, going back then, I was like, right, if I can hours work for this,
your own bread, innit?
Yeah, I was hooked. So that was a time, or should I say a stage, where I was thinking, I want to do this. And then obviously I did that for a while, and some of the DJs on there were really good, and they were able to go on to Kool, and that's how I kind of was able to drift onto it. You know what I mean? So, man, those memories there still.
How does collaborating with various UK musical talents infuse your own style and approach to music?
Do you know what? It's weird. I mean, I can always respect artists, but I've always been able to stay in my lane. So, like, I can hear you as an artist and be like, that's cold. But not feel like I want to do that and I can do that.
Right.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
There's a difference with me. So even if I'm doing something now, I'm at the moment in the process of doing something. I have this little complex where I try not to sound like someone else. So although I'm inspired by musicians and music, I'm just happy to be like, I'm happy for them in that sense. So I'm always just in my own lane. So I'm kind of different like that. So when I hear something, when I see artists, I'm just happy for them doing their own thing. I don't feel like I want to be in that lane. I'm happy in my lane. So if you come to me and say, look, let's do a track as we've done before, I'm like, I don't listen to you and be like, okay, let me see what he's on. I'm just like, wow, that's cold. I respect what he's doing. I'll just do put my little bit on it, and that is as simple as that. It's not even any more complex than that, So it's a weird one. Like when I look at the scene now, it's funny, I feel old in that sense. Like I don't have the same love for music as I used to, but I still can respect the new gen.
No, hey,
you know that way that I can listen to the new gen and be like, these youths are cold. These youths are cold. But it doesn't inspire me.
No, I hear that.
You understand what I'm saying to you? So because of my mentality, like I just said to you, when I can respect what someone's doing, but just stay in my lane, it's always just had me being like that. You know, so I've never really been influenced. Like if you was to say to me now, like who's influenced me in the game, I couldn't really mention anybody. I could mention 100 artists that I like, and I like their music. Yeah, you know what I'm trying to say, but I wouldn't say they've influenced me in any way. Yeah, I think what's influenced me more than anything is just the culture of it, just being involved. So when we're in a rave, that's what my influences are. Just being around people and being like, okay, cool, and then doing your bits and pieces. And I'm more influenced by the roadside, if you want to call it that, more than the actual music, because that's where it stemmed from. Music for me was an expression. Yeah. So when I'm writing and I'm doing stuff, I'm just expressing myself. I'm not trying to be what someone else is doing, you know? So the stuff that was coming out of my mouth is pretty much, you know, what I'm thinking at the time and stuff like that. Now, of course, that I had influences from genres, like a Bashment. I had much influences, you know, Bounty Killers and such and such and such. And in hip hop, same thing, you know, that the artists, I was influenced in terms of the sound, but not actually as individuals. It was whenever I was influenced by something, I'd always home it back into myself, being like, well, this is what I do. You know, like to the point where in my humble opinion, anyone who knows me or has heard me, when they're hearing anything I've said, they're able to go, yeah, that's him. You know, like certain times you hear certain artists, and if you know them personally, you can go, he's saying that, but that's not actually him. And when you can do that, that shows that he's got an influence from somewhere else. Because he's speaking on behalf of other people's things. Whereas with me, I feel like you'll be able to hear me and be like, yeah, that's Curse. That's actually him. When he's saying that, I believe that. When I'm saying certain things, you'll believe it. You understand what I'm saying? And not just because my sort of thing was just expressing myself in my own little way.
Yeah, man, I hear that because just to sum that up, like, you know, I'm just getting from you a sense of authenticity matters to you.
100%.
And I guess that's because that's the generation that we're from. You know, me as a hip hop artist, you had to sound like yourself and spit at your own way. And even back in my mind's eye, when I'm listening to jungle back in the day, there was no MCs that really sounded like Det doesn't sound like you at all.
100%.
Or PSG doesn't sound like you at all. So I'm totally with you there. What I was going to say to you, just coming off of that, do you feel that like maybe would you think that a lot of artists nowadays are losing their authenticity?
No, it's gone.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's why what you just said was interesting. And like, sorry to interject, but
that's cool.
Yeah, so 100%, that's what my problem was, because it got to a point where everyone started to just sound the same, and then it got to a point where you couldn't even do anything because that's what was happening. You know, like me and you would do a tune, for example, and they would listen to the flow and the patterns, and everyone would take that, and then it's almost like, okay, there's only so many times you can come up with something new because the problem is, and I went for that stage. It's funny we're having this conversation. So I went for that stage where I'd always try and come up with something different. But the problem is, when you're doing that, you're kind of, without realizing it, losing yourself. Because then, if you're doing something new, then you've kind of lost your identity in the first place. Yeah. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? And that was that started becoming a problem. Because when I listened to myself when I first started, to like in between to now, I've changed 100%. That was to do with age more than anything. But these guys, bro, I don't know how you feel, but when I listen to music now, everyone sounds the same.
Yeah, it's not like how it used to be.
It definitely isn't.
It definitely isn't. But what I will say in its defense, I think that it's a lot to do with what the so-called, I like to put the quotations, what the industry likes to dictate as what's it, because I'm saying you still got the man at the grassroots, you still got the rappers that are hasn't switched their lane, still keeping it fresh, still trying to sound like themselves. But I think when it comes to being lucrative and people trying to make money, they think, oh, I need to sound like that, or 100%. I need to make beats like that, I need to jump on a sound like 100%. That, and you lose yourself, innit?
When we was young, see, it was a thing where we was just doing it for the love of doing it. Like when I started MCing, I didn't start MC thinking, I'm gonna make money out of this. It was nothing to do with that. Yeah. Whereas the youths of today now, they're seeing what's out there and, okay, this is a short way of being able to make money.
Right.
So of course, when you look at that as an artist, or so I say a budding artist, you're thinking, okay, so what do I need to do to be able to get that? Well, of course, their quick way of that suggestion is copying what I see.
Yeah.
Which is why everyone sounds the same. So you hear a tune and you're like, okay, that tune's just made £1 billion for argument's sake. So okay, they're gonna replicate what's made $1 billion. Why would you try and do something different? The different thing is not what made $1 billion.
Right.
So in order to make $1 billion, they're looking at that and thinking that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so saturated at the moment.
That's right.
You know, and it's sad because there's some really talented people out there. I listen to things, and I'm like, that person's really good. But then even they conform in the end because they're like, well, I'm doing my own thing, but maybe I'm gonna have to do it a bit like that in order, like you said about the record labels, in order for them to try and look at me and want to sign me potentially, I'm gonna have to probably follow that pattern, and it's sad, but that's how it goes.
That's right. I just want to stray and come back here. I just wanted to ask you a question. What led you to start your own podcast, and what topics or themes did you typically cover when dealing with your podcast?
Okay, so that's mad. So for the people, I'll just let them know. So my podcast and me, so obviously everyone knows me as Curse, but my podcast is called Reboot System Error. So it's a total different thing. Like, it's not even musically inclined or anything like that. It's not associated with that. And just answer your question, sorry, it's started because of knife crime.
Okay.
So because of all the knife crime and I saw what was going on, I said to myself, I needed to, have a platform where I can speak to, I don't want to say the youth, but speak to people and just let them know from my perspective of what's going on, but also from people I know personally and their perspectives. So like, obviously I know a couple football players, so I'm thinking, get a couple football players. So the idea was to try and show the youth that there is a different way of living. You don't have to be on the roadside, shotting, selling and shooting and stabbing each other for the whole process. There's other avenues, and I was trying to get people that I knew that had made films, playing football, doing music, doing all sorts of, just even working, like even having a 9 to 5, like just giving that type of element to it. And that was how it started, and going to schools and sitting down and trying to just explain to them, look, this life that is portrayed in, look, as we're speaking about music and films, it's not real. It's not real. And people say, yeah, but it is real because people really die. But I'm saying the perception, it's not real. It's not real.
You know what? It's so interesting because I wanted to bring this up somehow, but I guess this is the entrance for me to bring this in. Do you know where the biggest number of knife crime is in the UK?
In the UK?
Yeah.
The last time I saw, was it Scotland?
No, actually, it's in a place called Cleveland. This is the first time I heard about it the other day. It's called Cleveland. And Cleveland's in Middlesbrough. Is it? Yeah, Middlesbrough.
Okay.
I'm correct, right?
Okay.
And I never knew of this Cleveland, but like when they had the so-called race riots, to me that wasn't no race riots, but I'm saying when all this racism and all this stuff was building up and all of this, we're going to go to your ends to this and that, and painting the narrative of black people being the ones that are causing all of these crimes. When I started to do my research, I'm finding Cleveland has Cleveland's supposed to be so bad. You walking through a certain area in Cleveland, you have a 50% chance of getting stabbed. Now this is an area where it's predominantly white, and I think it's maybe 10-15% Asian, but I didn't really see much black there at all.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting to me. I was thinking, nobody's ever spoken about Cleveland, no one knows about nothing, but in the UK, that is the place where the knife crime is out of control, and many other crimes are as well.
I'd like to see that, because it's all relative in the sense that, if you've only got, what's the population in Cleveland?
I don't even know, brother.
Do you see what I'm saying? Even that on itself makes me be like, okay, cool. So there's obviously a problem there. But if you've only got 30 people and 15 of them are going mad, then of course it's, if you put it in perspective. But if you're dealing with thousands of people, listen, let's put it out there. Even one person being stabbed and murdered is enough.
Of course.
You understand what I'm saying to you?
Yeah.
But if it's happening in Cleveland, there's only 30 people, it's a bit different in terms of, you got thousands of people and 50 of them have. Yeah. So it's all relative in that sense.
Yeah.
For me, I definitely agree that, we're portrayed as killers and the real reason why all this is happening, and we both know it's not.
Yeah.
You know, and even when we was young, before knife crime, it's always been happening, of course, but before it emerged as this huge problem, I mean, when I was young, it wasn't the black boys that were doing it. I'm just going to keep it 100 with you. You know, so, you know, it's whatever the media want to portray.
Yeah.
You know, and whatever they want to put out there is whatever they're going to want to put out there.
Yeah.
Even the little stats that we're saying, I'm saying Scotland, you're saying Middlesbrough, someone else will say something else. I mean, where are we actually basing it? We're having this discussion and we're basing that on something we've seen. If someone puts it out there, they put that out there. You know, if they want it to be Brixton, they'll tell us that it's Brixton. I mean, it's going to be difficult for us to actually get the hard facts unless we, you know, look at the actual, the murders that have happened in that. But, I mean, how many times are we... Listen, when we was young, we never really knew what was going on. We heard certain things, word of mouth. Oh, someone got stabbed in such and such. You know, but we're in a society now where, you know, you've got social media and everything is just out in the open now.
That's right. Everything's exposed.
Everything's exposed. But when we say everything's exposed, there's still things that are happening day in, day out that we're not told about.
Oh, of course, man. It's just like with this. I know we're switching to bare different things, but it's just
I said
it's just like the Diddy thing. What's going on? Yeah.
Oh.
Do you know how much people are talking to me about? Not going to them, but this shit's old news. Like everybody's getting panicked, and oh my god, is that what goes on the industry? I go, that's old shit. That's old shit. Like in the sense that like people have been doing that. You're talking about like all of this shit's been going on. You know, like what's my man? You know, like you had Bing Crosby and you had Bob Hope and them man there. In them times, them man was doing exactly the same thing.
Yeah, yeah.
But the difference is there was no instant news, like in the sense that something could happen and you could be on the phone doing a TikTok right now and spread the news. When back then, there was none of that. Things were more enclosed. No one really believed certain stories when it was coming out. You know, women's rights wasn't how it is now. So to me, like, when all of this stuff's coming out and people are talking about it, I was reading books on that sort of stuff, like when I was 16, bro. So it's mad. I'm just saying that to say, look, just to touch on what you're saying. No,
because it's important. I mean, everything is relative. So the problem I have with all that is to answer, well, not even a question, but to have my opinion on that, it's people always need someone to bring down. Because when someone else is getting brought down, in their own psyche, they're not.
Yeah.
Yeah, does that make sense?
That does.
So all the names that you mentioned, at that moment, it was their time for everyone to be like, well, let's bring him down. Yeah, because it's like bullies. You know, if they're bullies because they were being bullied and they don't want to be being bullied. So it's easier for someone else to be bullied and then to join in because it means I'm no longer being bullied. You know, so and nobody, for some reason, no one wants to see people do well. And when someone has done well, they want them to be, there must be a fault. There must be a reason why they're doing so well, because how can that person be better than me? They're doing so great and I'm not. So then when they find that person is not doing so well now, that makes them feel good.
Yeah.
And it's sad, but it does, because it just enables them to feel better about themselves.
Of course.
Most of the stuff we're all going through, back to the knife crime, all of this sort of stuff, is the insecurities within. That's what makes people do the nonsense that they're doing.
Right.
You know? So with this whole P. Diddy thing, listen, I'm not saying he has or he hasn't. It's looking mad for him. I'll say that much. But, you know, everyone jumping on it, like you said, it's old news.
Yeah.
But it's just another person for people to bring down, because when people start looking at their own lives, it's hard. They don't like those truths. It's easier to step out and look at someone else's and bring them down, because I don't like the things that are going on within my life.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with music. It's the same thing with music. When you see these guys doing music now, that's what happens. You know, they're speaking about other people's lives because they don't want to speak about their own. You know, there's very few artists that actually speak about their own experiences.
Yeah.
You know, most people are talking about someone else's. And we know that because when everyone's talking about shooting and stabbing people and this money and that money, well, we look around and we ain't seeing none of it.
Yeah.
You know, because at the end of the day, we talk about numbers, the numbers would be ridiculously higher if everyone was speaking the truth when they're making their tracks. Yeah. So that being said, that just proves the point.
How do you think your background in being on Kool FM and you know, doing the rave scenes and all of that, how has it influenced the way that you approach music, making your own music and stuff like that?
Well, like I said earlier, it was like the rave scene. So when I want to make music that makes people vibe, and that's what I'm saying to you. So the influence from the music was when I used to go into a rave and even myself listen to artists, it was like, yeah, I was more on a vibe, you know? So it was a situation, I felt that for a while, and I love all types of music, but I felt like music got a bit depressing. You understand what I'm saying? So I didn't think people were making music to make you feel like vibe. It was the whole Puck and Biggie argument I used to have and debate I used to have. When people used to say to me, who's the best out of the two? I said, it's so difficult to have that argument because they both did different things.
That's right.
Like, I preferred Biggie when it come to, you know, vibe. Like, if we're going out tonight, I want to listen to Biggie because that was the type of thing.
Yeah.
If I'm sitting down in my yard and I'm just dwelling on things or I'm looking at, I want to hear Puck because he's someone that's gonna keep it 100 with me.
Right.
You understand what I mean? So there's a difference. So it all depends on the vibe. Listen, if Cyclonious sends me a track, the track kind of makes me build a vibe within my head. You understand what I'm saying to you?
Yeah.
So the influence is really the track. So whatever I'm sent makes me think, well, look, this is the mood.
Right.
Do you understand what I'm trying to say to you? So, and then once I've got the mood, then I can kind of draw on my elements of being an MC or the rave scene or conscious, or it's all dependent on the track. So for me, it's all about the track. And I don't know, maybe you could answer me if you felt that same way, if that's what you would do. But I think that's changed. When I speak to artists now, it's almost like they already know what they want to do.
Well, it depends, one, on who the artist is. It depends on what the subject matter is. It depends, like you said, the vibe of the beat, because that all of those things are relevant to me. You know, it's just like someone sent me their album the other day to listen to, and like I proper gave them a breakdown of what I thought of the album, and I just said to them little things like, I love the way that they'll have a title of this one of the songs. One of the songs was called what's it called? Shaking Hands with an Angel or something like that. And when I heard the beat made me kind of think of something like that. It just gave a sort of feeling. So I said, I like when things are all concept based and it 100%. Makes sense. A lot of people have a song called, like, not even a song, somebody, you know, when people do this, someone will have a picture of themselves, like a girl will be standing up in the gym trying to show off her glutes, but she will say stuff like, when the world's against you, stand up. You know, that's something that it doesn't match with the thing.
And that's what I mean.
I don't like that.
That's exactly what I mean. So for me, if you play a up-tempo beat, and then we're in the gym, pump it, like, it makes sense. That's what I'm saying. So that would be the concept. But I'm trying to say, for me, it's into a lot of artists now, they're like, I've got this concept in my head, and you just give them a beat, and they don't care what the beat is. They're just going to use that same. You know what I'm trying to say? And if that works for you, that's cool. But I feel like when you hear something, feel it. Yeah. Like, let that mood then guide where you're going with it. You know what I mean? Because there's so much different types of beats that you can have that you'll be able to explore on them. Like, I don't understand why you're thinking, look, I need to do a tune. It needs to be roadside, and a guy gives you a beat. You're supposed to be able to go, nah, that's not it. That's not the vibe I'm going for, the concept. But they don't. They're just like, okay, we'll just do it on that. You know what I mean? And it's like, listen, I get it. You want to just bang out tunes and all that, but there has to be a sense of like mood when it comes to music. Because when I'm hearing it, like you just said, if I'm hearing the beat and they're listening to you, I'm going to go, it's a bit mad. I'm like, it's a bit mad, bro. I don't really know where you went with this.
But you went everywhere.
You know what I mean? But it is what it is. It is what it is.
What challenges have you faced while working on the pirate radio station like Kool FM, and like how did you overcome them?
I don't know if I ever did, if I'm honest with you. Like, I feel that in the sense of radio station, and, you know, the thing in music is this, and it's the one thing, an element that I love, and it's what kind of also helped me get into it as well, was that competitiveness of it. Competition. So I love that. You know, like, I'd love, like, at that stage, because remember, I'm young, so I'm saying to myself, when I got into it, I hear man up there, and I'm like, yeah, he's cold. I want to go out there and show my thing. And there was that competition level, and remember, and I think that's disappeared a lot, and we won't go too deep into it, but you know, like the whole J. Cole thing when he was on stage, like, I felt that was mad to me, because I felt like when I first got into this and was MCing, my thing was I'm the best.
Right.
You understand what I'm trying to say? And if you don't like that, let's war. That was my thing. That was the competitive streak that I had.
That's right.
Do you understand what I'm saying to you? So I was like, I'm the best though. The problem with that is when you're back to your question, is for me, obviously, the challenges I had were, I feel like I'm the best, but I'm not getting the opportunities that people are getting. You know, so it's like that can be a problem, you know. And it was almost like the challenges I would get is I'm seeing people like promoters are like, yeah, look, I want to put you on my event, sell some tickets. Now these times I'm young, I'm a bad boy. You understand what I'm saying to you? I'm saying, am I selling tickets?
Yeah, it's a mad thing, yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying to you? If you want me on your event,
Put me on your event. Yeah.
What are you talking about? Sell some tickets and
Yeah.
I weren't interested in all that.
Yeah.
But other youths were.
Right.
So then they would then get, so obviously like I can look back now. If I knew now what I knew there, like, you know, if I knew then what I knew now, it would be a different thing. But that was part of the challenges because I couldn't get to grips with that.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes in my own ignorance maybe or whatever, naivety, I don't know. It just was one of those situations where those were the challenges I was facing all the time. I was saying to one of my brothers the other day, you know, there'll be top DJs, I'll do a set with them and I'm just being me, doing my thing. And then like years later, man, I'm saying, yeah, you know, he wanted to work with you, and I'm like, I didn't know. And it's because of my ignorance, you know, that I didn't go further with him, because really what I should have been doing is, when I've done certain bits with people, you should reach out to them. You know what I'm saying? You like, reach out and be like, oh, I really enjoyed that set we did the other day. Like, and then the man might say, yeah, it was cold. You know what? I got one next week. Come on. But I'm this bad boy curse. You know them way there. So I'm just like, if man want to draw for man, they'll draw for man.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't get the backside of the music industry, or that, you know, the jungle side of it then. So I'm just thinking being good is all you need to be. Exactly. And then what happens is you start to learn that there's a underlining thing that goes on within the scene that you have to understand. And it's not just being a good MC. There's a business side to it. There's a promoting side to it.
Exactly.
You know, and I think that was what I had to learn the hard way. And it was almost like I learned it too late.
I hear you.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying to you? So those were the challenges, to answer your question, for me, were trying to understand what was going on. Because in my mind, I'm just thinking I'm not getting a fair shake because these guys are haters. They don't know nothing. And some of them were. Like, I can give you a situation where they actually were. But there was other things that I could have done more and should have done more.
No, I hear you,
you
bro.
know?
100, because I think I went through the same thing myself. You know, like, definitely when I think of me in my early stages of rapping, no one could fuck with me. That's as far as I saw it. And I'm thinking,
we're all supposed to feel that way.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, I was blinded in the sense that I'm thinking, yeah, surely things should come to me. But I'm starting to realise now that, like you said, it's a music business. So business activities will take place, and we all know that there's a lot of people out there who shouldn't really, in my opinion, maybe have a opportunity, but because they've played their part in the business aspect
100%.
and done certain things, that's why they'll get
100%.
opportunities that maybe I didn't get.
100%.
And funny enough, my question now is, how has the music scene in the UK evolved in your eyes since your early days on being on radio and doing those rave scenes? And what do you think the future holds inside of this music scene within the UK?
So for me, I feel that obviously for us, we didn't have the tools that they have now. So when I first started MCing, there was no such thing as YouTube.
Right. That's right.
There was barely internet. Do you understand what I'm trying to say to you? So we had to grind. We had to do the hard work. Like, me and you would have to drive up to somewhere, Quay, Torquay or something, and do bits and pieces for people just to hear us. Just to understand what's going on. Because remember, you got radio, but radio transmitters only go so far.
That's right.
Do you understand what I'm trying to say to you? So then it was like, okay, so like when I said when I was on Syndicate, look, I'm big in Grays. Like, man know me in Grays, but man don't know me over there and over there and over there. And in order to do that, we have to go there.
Right.
So that the slug was a real slug.
Right.
Whereas obviously now you got YouTube and social media. So now not only you just putting something out to your local areas, you've gone clear in terms of 1 million have heard you now. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm saying to you now. So like, when you put something out there, you're giving yourself the opportunity for it. Even in America, you put yourself on YouTube, Americans can just watch you in an instant. You know,
right.
all the European countries can watch you in an instant. We didn't have that before, so it's evolved in that sense. So you can go viral within a second now. Do you know what I mean? So, and I think that's going to continue. And I mean, I saw the other day, I couldn't believe my eyes, because I saw on YouTube, is it whispering? There's something where they do this whispering thing.
I don't know.
And this girl, she's made millions of pounds off it. She's a whisperer or something. And literally, that's all. No, it's mad. It's mad. And it made me laugh, because I think in my day, I sound like an old man now, but in my time, if someone came to school and was like, "Yeah, I'm a whisperer,"
you'd be like, "What?"
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It was like. Whereas now it's a whole different thing, and obviously, like, man's got kids and all that, big youths, and I listen to them and I see things and I'm thinking, yeah, it's different. It's really different, and it's trying to understand and lock into that. But anyway, to snap back to your question, yeah, I just feel like it's just going to keep progressing in that sense. Yeah, you know, and soon I think record labels are going to be a thing of the past. You know what I mean? It's not going to be like, I want to get signed. Half of these kids are just going to be able to do their own thing. And I think that's where it's going to get to. It's going to get to that type of point where you're not even going to need anyone else. We'll always need a team. You're always going to need a team, but not like someone who's going to actually dictate everything. You know, like, we won't even go into that record label, that thing. But we know how they would dictate an artist. I think now you're able to actually have more control of what's going on with your music and what you want to do, and I'm happy for them in that sense, because that's important. Yeah, definitely. That's what's going to help us to be able to still have and maintain good music. You know, because without control of your music, we might as well forget it.
Yeah, that's right. Can you share a particularly memorable moment from your podcast that stood out to you?
In my podcast?
Yeah.
For me, there's many of them, because just conversation is conversation. So for me, it's a situation where, I mean, one of them we was talking about Top Boy, the influences of Top Boy on the youths of today. That was a good one, because, you know, for me, I don't think people give TV the credit it needs for the influence it has on the youth.
Oh, it's massive, bro.
Like, I say music is probably number one, but it's so close with TV, it's unreal.
Because it gives you that visual aspect of it.
It gives you the visual aspect of it. And a long-lasting visual aspect of it. When you do a music video, it's quick. Yeah, you might see bang, bang, and then move on. But in a film, it's like the emotion side of it. You know, you're connected to it. That's right. So yeah, that having that debate with, you know, how influential that is, because I think that Top Boy does have a lot to answer for in that sense. And listen, don't get me wrong. Obviously, it is a program, but I think we don't do enough to say to people that this is just a program. I feel like, you see, like that baby reindeer thing that came out. Did you ever hear about that?
No, I watched some of it up to a certain point. I just said, nah, that's enough.
So the point I'm trying to make is, in terms of relations, is that, you know, they say it's a true story. You have to be very careful when you say these things. You know, so although Top Boy is not saying it's a true story, it's still portrayed like this is what happens.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So you're still making the youth then believe this is how it is.
This is the road.
This is the road. Yeah. And then we're watching it like, all right, some of them things happen, but come on now. Like, it's not that dramatic, you know? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's like certain scenes where I'm like, guys, you got to be able to say to yourself, that's so far-fetched. Like, without even telling people too much about it, but there was one scene in there where, and this is what I was saying on the podcast, there's one scene when a man's in a different country, I think he's in Spain, and he's walking around with a strap. Walking around in Spain, and I'm like,
yeah, that's not happening.
Well, bro, you can't just walk here like that normally. Yeah. Like shirt, you know, like shirt.
Yeah. And man's in Miami with shirt flapping in a piece.
I couldn't believe it. And it's like, you're gonna make the youth then think they could just come outside the yard and walk down here, and no, it's not. It's not that. So, yeah. Also, it was mad. A good one I had was talking about the racism in football. And how prevalent that is.
Yeah, that must have been a good one.
Yeah, it was mad, and it was mad because the guy I did it with, he's mixed race. So just like what me and you do and you'll probably see when you watch this back, you start off with something and it just goes to 1,000 places. Or even though we're talking about racism in football, we're actually talking about, you know, the fact that what he went through. So for me, my own ignorance, I'm black, so I'm saying, no, racism for me was... But he's saying to me, no, bro, trust me, I know you think I'm mixed race and it's easy for me, but nah, like, I got it mad. Because I'm on both sides of the... You know, and then he's saying, man used to look at me as an abomination. You know what I'm trying to say to you? Yep. So it's like he was opening my eyes to a different element of it, because I'm just thinking, nah, we just get it. But he's like, no, listen, like, both sides. Like, the white side are saying, the black side almost saying, nah. As well. So he's like,
yeah, what the fuck?
I'm in the middle of France. I'm like, nah. So, yeah, that was it. So, yeah, little things like that, bro, was really good. And another one was obviously the influence of music. And the fact that one little topic we're talking about was social media, and the fact that once it's put out there, that's it.
That's right.
You know, that's it, and you can't take it back. That's the problem with now, is when back in the day, for me and you, for example, we was able to have a situation and leave that situation. You know, me and you could see each other after school, for argument's sake, and like, what's the matter? Look at each other, I'll be like, you might even slap me in my head. And I'm like, what are you doing? And that was it. We go home. No one really saw that. It's all right, cool, we get on with it. Yeah. Whereas now, once that's seen on the video,
it's all mad,
people are messaging, we can have that scene. Now you have to do something. You know what I mean?
Mad,
we've gone from sending messages in a bottle to now, like, bam.
Yeah, the pressures
are mad. You know what I mean? I'm thinking, right, we was on our own when that happened, but someone was just... Now everyone see it. Everyone see him slap me in my head. Now,
it's the Truman Show, bro.
You know what I mean? It really is, and that's the problem with it.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying to you? So, yeah, touching on that was really good as well. And just overall, I mean, I did one even with my daughter. It was good to see, you know, her thoughts in terms of what's going on now, because obviously they do see things differently. You know, they have a different understanding, and we struggle with it because we don't. It's hard for us to relate to them. It's like the whole COVID thing. Like, COVID for me was like, this is mental. This is mad. I don't know how they even getting away with this. Whereas for our youths, it's like, okay, this is just another thing. And going forward, that's what's going to happen. You know what I mean? It's going to be a situation where you know, they're just going to look at it differently. Yeah. You know, like, we're going to be like, that was unprecedented. Whereas they're just going to be like, whatever. Normal. You know? Bro, can you imagine that we was actually being told we couldn't leave our house?
Bruv, listen.
But do you know why that's mad, though? The reason why that's mad, and back to what I'm basically trying to say is, we're being told that thinking, bruv, I was brought up coming out of my house. The youths didn't feel it. Because they're in there all the time playing computer.
For real, for us, it's a madness.
It's a madness for them. It's like, I'm cool. I like being in my yard playing computer or online with my brethren anyway.
Yeah, it's normal.
So it's normal. That's how systematic that was and how clever that was. But anyway, that's a whole new...
No, but it's good that you say it, because it's a good reflection to say, like, raw. Because even though I knew it, like, but you just to say that, I'm like, right, for real, like, our generation, we was always outside. For someone to tell us, your outside movement is limited, we're like, what are you on about?
Yeah, it was mad.
But I was saying on camera, man, I didn't obey, man. I was outside, bro.
No.
I was outside, bro.
I had about 30. I had about 30 in my house on my party. So it
is what it is, like. You know, but
the whole jab thing was a no as well.
Yeah, it's a part for me as well.
It is what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, it is what it is. How do you select guests for your podcast, and what do you look for in potential collaborators?
So for me, anybody. Like, it's just life, but mainly because remember I said to you, the whole thing for me was knife crime. Like, me and the missus was sitting down and saying, you know what, we need to try and give back. So mine was about trying to get people like yourselves, who I feel have shown that you can live a life without doing the nonsense that's going on out here. Yeah. You know, because I felt like the youth of today were getting to a point where they couldn't see anything more than doing the road stuff. You know, so it was like me, like I said, it was me trying to say, let me try and get someone who's made a film. Let me try and get someone who plays football. Let me get someone who's doing really well in music. Right. Let me get someone who's got a 9-to-5 but makes a lot of money. You know, just a shot. Let me get a guy who's, you know, weight training, bodybuilder, whatever, who's that type of element. Yeah. You know, to be like, listen, there's more to life than just what you're hearing on these tunes and seeing in these videos or seeing in these glamorized films. And that was what I was trying to do, because I felt like enough ain't being done to show the kids that.
Definitely.
You know, because bruv, you know the funniest thing is, a lot of these movies when they finish, there's no backstory after. They might put in a little bit of writing, but there's no emotion attached to that. So when you turn around and you do a film, and then at the end of it says, oh, and in 2 years later, such and such, she passed away. There's no emotion to that. Like, when you show it, it's different. The point I'm making is, I feel that when they watch these films and they listen to the music, there's no reality after what they've seen. So, like, really say to somebody, when a person went jail, they went jail and it was a madness for them. They were doing all this mad stuff, but when they go jail, it was a madness. Instead, they went jail and it was easy, and they just come out and then went back to normal.
Yeah,
that's not real life.
No,
that's not how it happens for everybody.
That's right.
It's just, there's more that goes on to that. When people actually dying in these films, there's more than happens than just someone just dies. Someone dies and the family have to pick up all those pieces.
That's right.
Like, whenever you watch the film, and if you can think of one, correct me, or maybe someone in the comments can as well. Like, when do you see films when someone's died and they bring up little elements like, how are we going to afford the funeral?
No, you never hear stuff like that, bro.
Do you understand what I'm trying to say to you? Like, how it's actually affected certain people and all that and that. Like, these are the things that they won't do because they're glamorizing. It's all about how that's what they don't do, and that's what I'm trying to say to people. That listen, it's not all roses.
That's right. That's right.
It's not all roses.
What role do you think pirate radio stations on a whole that have done in shaping the music landscape and given a platform to underground artists in its day?
King. It's king. Without it, we had nothing.
Yeah.
Like, literally. Like, everything you see today is based off of that. And that's why even now, although it's not so much radio stations now, most people are legit now. You look at Rinse now. Rinse is legit.
Yeah.
So although but they're still going, because it does give you a platform. Radio gave people a platform to be able to do it. You look at all the artists that have coming up. You look at your Dizzies, your Kanos, your Lethals. All of these lot had radio, you know, and were built off of the radio. Yeah. So for artists, it was everything, because that was where it was all fresh, up to date, and you could just turn on your radio and listen to the freshest stuff that was out. You didn't have to go nowhere look for it. I remember, I'm sure you was the same, that when I was trying to listen to hip hop and certain bits and pieces, I'd have to go to some market to try and pick up the latest CD.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and little bits and bits. I was doing all that. It was mad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas like when you can find a radio station that the music that you like, bro, you didn't have to do all that, because you could listen to it and then just boom, record a tape and you got it.
For real, man.
You know what I mean? And that was that was the picture, bro.
It was a beautiful time, man. Because I'm just thinking of all, like, the landscape for all genres, from jungle, hip hop to garage and grime or whatever it is. I even remember, like, there was, as we're saying, there's glimpses of like my time of going to check certain MCs, and they had their sets on like Deja and all the madness of it. You know, the thing was on the roof, so you had to go all the way up, get to the roof, and the man them are shelling, they're doing their thing. And I'm saying, like, when I reflect, I'm saying, right, that's a moment that I don't think many people would ever experience. Like,
100%.
Where everybody are tuning into these, like the Dejas, the Kool FMs, and all of these sort of things.
It's a massive moment, because what you're actually doing is, with radio became a football stadium.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is, when you're young and you want to play football, and you're looking at, I want to look at that stadium, you want to finally be able to say, I played in that stadium. That's what radio did. If you're a budding MC, and you're listening to radio, you want to go up there.
That's right.
And the thing with radio was, there was no visual.
That's right.
So it made it even more like your imagination used to run wild with you, like, brother, I want to go.
Locked in.
Yeah, I'm like, what's going on up there?
Yeah.
Imagine listening to radio and hearing the madness in the background. You're thinking, what's that? It was so exciting for the youth them. You know what I'm saying to you? So yeah, radio was massive. It played the biggest part for me in the scene, you know, because without radio there was nothing. And like I said to you, even though before I was saying we had to slug and grind and go out to try and, but within that, that's what we had.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yeah.
So we was like the voice, you know what I mean, of the people, such per se. So yeah, man, that was massive.
So just to jump back to the podcast, I just wanted to know what did you or do you enjoy most about hosting your own podcast, and what keeps you motivated in creating content for it?
Just look, it's therapy for myself. I'll be honest with you, it's therapy for myself. You know, because although I'm sitting there saying to you, obviously I want to give a voice to people who are not getting caught up in madness, and I also want the people to be able to hear that, especially the youth, to understand that they don't have to follow nonsense. It's also therapy for me.
Yeah.
You know, so having a conversation with you, I get to learn something new.
Yeah.
I get to be like, actually, I never saw that perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand what I'm trying to say to you? And then ask a question and then get it answered from someone else's point of view. Mm-hmm. That's very important to me.
Yeah.
Because for me, I always have answers. Like, you ask me a question, I'll have my own answer. That doesn't necessarily mean it's right. Do you understand what I'm trying to say to you? And even if it is right, you might give me an answer that I think is wrong, but makes me say, I didn't see it that way. Although I don't agree with it, I see that you're coming from a different angle. And I think that's why society is so messed up now, is because we don't communicate enough. We don't have conversations enough.
I hear you.
And when I say that, people tend to pick those like a boxing match. So you'll see a lot of podcasts, and they're doing that where we're having lots of conversations, but the two people you've picked it in a sense that nothing really is going to come from it. Do you understand what I'm trying to say to you? So me and you can have a conversation where we're going to agree and disagree on things, but we're still coming from the same place. We're still coming from the place where let's learn and let's have a conversation.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of times when I watch it, other sets, I don't even want to plug people's things, but when I see other people's, it's like, okay, we're just going to war. I'm just going to give you my opinion, and whatever you say I'm not going to agree with. And it just, you don't really get much out of it, you know? So
that's right.
For me, I like, it's therapy for me, and it's trying to give people answers from a different perspective.
How do you think your experience in all these things that we're talking about, like radio, the rave scene, having your own podcast, how do you think all these things have shaped your perspective on the industry right now, as a whole?
Sorry.
Cool, man.
I feel that it hasn't, because it maybe there was a time where it might have done, but I think having children, having kids, that was it for me. That changed everything.
Right.
You understand what I'm trying to say? Because it made me, it brought me down to earth, to the sense that there's more to life than just what I think. Do you understand what I mean? So I could be honest and say to you, I was very ignorant when I was younger, to the point like it was me and that's it. Does that make sense?
Of course.
It's me and that's it. I don't care what anyone else is saying.
Yeah.
I didn't care.
Yeah.
Now I care.
Yeah.
You understand what I mean? My actions now are not just about me. And that's why I'm saying to you, even when I've got that, that's why I did the podcast, because I'm like, it's not just about me. Yeah, like I'm saying, I can learn from it. My kids can sit down. It's like having a conversation with your children, but then them listening to you having a conversation. It's two separate things.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So even that, they can listen to it and be like, oh, okay, I have a different understanding of it. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? So for me, it's a situation where that's what really shaped me more than anything.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? The music for me was always just music. I never really cared like that. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? For me, it was just, like I said to you in the beginning, music for me was just a way to express. When I'm saying certain things, it was like, I'm just expressing that. Just like releasing tension in that sense. You know what I'm saying to you? So, and that's where it could be misconstrued, because a lot of kids are still doing that, but they're thinking they have to do it in a certain way. I'm saying you can sit down and have a conversation and do that.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying? I can say, look, this is angering me, see, and you can be like, yeah, but boom, 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 and I'm like, yeah, all right, cool. There doesn't have to be an aggression there. Do you understand what I mean? And that's something I had to learn.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying to you? So, yeah, mad.
No, that's dope, man. That's you giving your contribution to
Trying.
Yeah, to society, if you want to call it that. All right, so last thing I want to ask you, looking ahead, what are some of your goals and aspirations for the future of your podcast and career in the music industry?
So, obviously, I'm 100% honest with you. I'm doing a tune as we speak. But I don't have the same energy for music as I did. Like, I feel like I'm at an age now where there's only so much I can do with music. And it's like the whole Andre 3000 thing, you know what he was saying, and I could relate. When he said it, I related to exactly what he was saying. Of course, I'm not on the same level in that sense, but I could relate to it. You know, because I'm saying to yourself, you get to a point and you're like, yeah, but how many times can I be speaking about these things? Like, and I'm a grown. And you got to understand, I remember I went to radio once. I can play you it. I went to radio and I took my kids. And I'm emceeing Nevs, and I was like, wow, my kids are listening to this. And I'm thinking, okay, let me make sure I don't say certain bits and pieces. And then I said one lyric, and my son said it. His son's age young. And I was like, yeah, this is a bit peak.
Yeah, it's mad.
Do you understand what I'm trying to say to you? Because I can't be saying certain things and then my kids are listening and thinking, like, I want to be a role model towards my kids. Like, some people don't care about stuff like that. That's fine.
Yeah.
But me personally, I kind of do.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So I can't be kicking one thing to them and then listening to my music and be thinking, Do you understand what I'm trying to say to you? Because remember, music is supposed to be... For me, music isn't a film. A film you can act.
Yeah.
That's fair enough. If my kids saw me in a film, I can say to my kids, no, I was acting a part.
Yeah.
But music is supposed to be an expression.
That's right.
Yeah, so when I'm saying that, they have every right to look at me and be like, so is that how you really feel then?
Yeah, is that how you're moving?
Is that how you're moving? Because if it's not, why are you saying it? You understand? So that in itself made me be like, wow, okay. I've got to really knuckle down and say to myself, do I really want to keep doing it in that sense? And like I said, I can sit down in these situations and have conversations about certain things. I don't need to go on a track and necessarily do that now. And I don't have, and at my age, in my humble opinion, I feel like I don't need to do that no more. So my thing is more like what you said about it's doing that podcast, sitting there and talking and just letting people express themselves in that space of time where we can just, you know, sit down, have a little chat and just be like, okay, cool, man. Because it's all about perspectives. It's all about perspectives, and we all have our own. You know, we all might have our same ideas and such, but we all do see things a little way different. And I think when you can sometimes sit down and speak to someone and get someone's perspective, you get to go to yourself, okay, yeah. You know what I mean? I don't know why people think they're too big to learn. We can always learn.
That's
right. What I mean? And I'm someone that's very outspoken. I'm someone who always believes like strongly that I know what's going on out here. I can say that, I know what's going on out here, but I don't know everything. And you have to learn that, and I've learned that. I don't know everything, and I've still got so much more I can learn.
This is it.
And things are forever changing.
That's right.
So just because I knew what happened 2 years ago, don't mean I know what's going on tomorrow. I have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow. Could be another COVID tomorrow. That threw a spanner in the works, you know what I mean?
It did.
So there you go, yeah.
Yeah. Brother. Much love, man.
Love, my brother.
Yeah, man, every time.
I hope I was making even a little bit of sense, you know me, I just chatting, but big up everyone. Bless up the channel, make sure you subscribe, keep it moving.
Love, man. Peace.
Hey yo, what's outside is within. The mind regulates the hand that masters the pen. The pen is mightier than the sword, but the tongue is mightier still. The stargate to the mind's revealed. The vortex.